thank you. And stand by. And Danny Svelos, thank you very much for your insights this morning. So Amazon says it will not display additional tariff costs next to the product prices on its site, despite a report the company would be doing so. Punchbowl reported yesterday the retail giant would post import charges for some items as a transparent way to show why some prices have gone up. Hours later, during a press briefing, Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt called everybody. The reported move by Amazon a, quote, hostile and political act. The White House later confirmed President Trump had called Amazon chief Jeff Bezos yesterday morning to express his displeasure over the report about Amazon displaying tariff costs on its site.
Jeff Bezos was very nice. He was terrific. He solved the problem very quickly, and he did the right thing, and he's a good guy.
An Amazon spokesperson issued this statement, quote, the team that runs our ultra low-cost Amazon haul store considered the idea of listing import charges on certain products. This was never approved and not going to happen.
The Wall Street Journal editorial board is writing this morning about all this. The piece titled Trump versus Amazon's Brilliant Tariff Idea. The Journal writes this. President Trump says his tariffs may raise enough revenue to replace the income tax. So why is he afraid to let Americans see what they're paying? Instead of owning his policy, the White House has bullied Amazon to keep quiet about what it will cost. The public could have used Amazon's price transparency. Tariffs are taxes, and it's helpful to know how policy choices affect final prices. Some shoppers might say the additional cost is worth it to support Mr. Trump's policy, but there is no denying that they're paying, and everyone is better off knowing how much. Like taxes, tariffs often add a precise dollar figure to a sticker price. Voters who pay little attention to the macroeconomy will notice a direct markup on items they buy. Consumers are already feeling the tariff pain, whether or not retailers quantify it on their websites. White House denials won't change that, but repealing the tariffs would. That is the Wall Street Journal this morning. Richard Haas. Also, not really a plausible argument from the White House briefing room yesterday, calling Amazon a bunch of, left-wing commies. One of the most successful enterprises in the history of capitalism is Amazon.
Yes, it is capitalism, which I usually associate with the West. This was, as one Wall Street firm calls it, radical transparency. And the White House probably could have pushed back and said, well, they're listing the immediate cost. They're not talking about the long-term benefits. But I thought it was really interesting what the Wall Street Journal did. And just as a larger point, the Wall Street Journal editorial page has been a true, consistent conservative voice. And it's interesting because it highlights the difference between conservatism and this administration, which is many things, but not conservative. It's not institutional. It doesn't look at precedent. It doesn't follow the rule of law carefully. So all the things that conservatives believe in, and the Wall Street Journal highlights them. And the contrast, I thought, again, yes, in today's paper, good for them.
We should note, though, that Amazon was going to list this tariffs on just one part of its site, the Amazon Haul part of it, which is the low-cast. The Amazon Haul is pretty prominently featured on anyone's Amazon page. So this would have been something consumers would have seen, and we would have perhaps he would have gone from there. But David French, I think the point here is, we've gotten the explanation from Amazon, but there's certainly a perception that this is another moment of a powerful institution, a powerful person obeying what President Trump wants. We know that Bezos has really cozied up to him in the last handful of months, was there for the inauguration and the like, and has, even after the first term, drew Trump's ire quite often because of his stewardship of the Washington Post. That is no longer the case. So talk to us about that phenomenon, but also just the fact that the White House got so upset about this gives up the game here. They know that these tariffs are going to hurt American consumers and be really unpopular, and they don't want that in-your-face reminder of that.
Yeah, they absolutely don't want that reminder. They want some sort of deniability with their base that price increases have anything to do with the tariffs, and they want the base to think that price increases are going to be due to corporate greed. But what we see here is a further example of what we already knew, which was Trump views himself in this Putin-esque authoritarian role. And what does Putin have? Putin has a bunch of oligarchs who kind of orbit around him, who are subservient to him. And this is what the relationship he wants to create with wealthy American individuals and powerful American institutions. He wants to create this dynamic, whereas he's the authoritarian center and all of these oligarchs and all of these wealthy institutions orbit around him. The thing that's not surprising. We know this, but the thing that's discouraging is how many of these wealthy American institutions and how many of these wealthy American individuals seem to be entirely willing to play that role, to play that subservient role around Donald Trump. That is the thing that has been most surprising to me, as these people with immense wealth and immense power and immense pride consistently are bending that knee to Donald Trump. And that's the thing that's particularly alarming.
So we'll talk more about President Trump's first 100 days after the break. There's a lot more to get to. Still ahead on Morning Joe, we'll get to Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer's appearance with Trump yesterday in Michigan and